Cake update. Why is it always the coworkers? I am overwhelmed with all the support I've gotten in the past week. I'm still off from work. My boss decided to give me 2 weeks instead of the one I requested. Good man, he is. I've already split our savings in half, put him half in an account in my name, and changed autopay for the mortgage, credit freezes, etc. Everything my lawyer advised me to do with the household funds. First off, we have no kids. Second, I'm seeing a therapist to help me. I found one that is well versed in helping with infidelity. Seen him twice, and I am feeling a lot more balanced out. Still some weird low points, but nowhere near the same amount of swing between the two. After the cake stunt, I'm definitely taking my lawyer's advice on anything from this point forward. He said you can be happy where you can be right in regards to taking his advice, and I get that now.
Amen.
He told me that if my wife wants to return home that I'm not legally allowed to kick her out, but I should record all interactions with her. She's not staying at home again, still at her mom's, but she did want to come by Saturday to talk. My lawyer told me I could, but said he would prefer if she wants to talk to have it done at his office, with her own lawyer present as well as himself. I presented this to her, in email of course, and she responded that she didn't have a lawyer. My lawyer said, barring showing up at his office, have witnesses, and record the meeting. I let my wife know this was my condition to talking with her. She actually accepted. So, I had 2 mutual friends come in, all 3 of us with our phones on the table ready to record. She came in and tried to give me an awkward hug, but I just held my hand up and the phone started to record as the 4 of us sat down at the kitchen table. She was actually apologetic. She said she felt like she was watching a movie versus being in charge of her life. But it felt thrilling and with a rush. She asked if I wanted to know why. I said I really didn't care at this point. She felt that she owed that much to me and told me. She said that when she started going back to the office when it reopened, she got really close to 3 female coworkers, each a few years older than her, and 2 of them divorced. She said they wormed their way into her head, told her about how she's owed more than she's getting. They asked her constantly about her home life. The ringleader apparently was psychoanalyzing me from my wife's stories. My wife told them about my issue with managers back in my early career, and the ringleader took this to mean I'm threatened by educated people. The ringleader told her that I was a submissive male, and she needed a take-charge man in her life. That if I found out, I might have shouted and threatened, but get in line. My wife still has her job for now, but only just. The people that saw the cake was my wife, the 3 witches, her affair partner/boss, and according to her 2 other coworkers that were lateral to her. The boss immediately ended the affair, told her to only communicate with him in email, and that if she ever tried to show up in his office alone, he would call in a coworker immediately. The 3 witches turned on her immediately and publicly berated her for doing such an awful thing. The other coworkers, according to her, didn't want to get involved with her soap opera. So, no reports to HR. She said her 3 friends doing a 180 on her immediately sort of shook her out of her fog. She seemed really ashamed and said she had to ask for $5,000. I was confused, because there was money left in her account. I made it a point that she had it. She was living with her mom, she didn't have any major expenses. It turns out the ringleader and the other 2 witches wanted to be paid for their silence. They're blackmailing her and gave her a deadline, lest HR will know all the sordid details. She was pleading for help. I told her that there is no going back to normal after this. Everything will change. That if she bends now, it will be more money later. Best for her to report herself, her boss, and her coworkers. It would work better than having sleepless nights waiting for the knife to fall. She seemed to hem and on that, but she did finally ask the big question. What about us? Where does that leave us? I told her there was no us. That's done, and she best get herself that lawyer to go over the divorce. The best I can do is tell her how to handle her work situation, but she most likely needs to find another career after this. I also said she needs to go to therapy herself, because someone who could go to laughing in my face to pleading for help a week later needs help sorting themselves out. She pointed out the cake and all I said to that was yeah, and I am seeing someone for that. She left soon after that. No word on if she will follow my advice or try to pay her coworkers blackmail. Why is it always the coworkers? Final update. First week back at work and my boss decided to tell everyone we could get off at noon today for Good Friday/Easter weekend. I'm doing a lot better. I'm still seeing an individual therapist, and last weekend I drove out into the rural roads to unwind and saw a dog breeder as I was driving by and was curious. Stopped in. He was an Asian fellow and had a breed of Asian dogs I'd never seen before. He was telling me about how they were extremely loyal and brave. After playing with a few of them, I am considering going back to buy one, even if they are extremely pricey. I believe they're called Jingdos? The wife always entertained getting a dog, but she never found a breed she liked. Anyways, the wife still has not moved back in or made any direct attempts to contact, but she did get a lawyer. My lawyer called me and said something like, "Buckle up, you're going to visit a marriage counselor." I said I didn't want to see one, the divorce was happening no matter what. He agreed, but then said normally, I'd tell the other attorney to pound sand, but now I have to paint you as a reasonable person, so you have to entertain reasonable requests. This is why you should listen to your attorney. If I held back my anger, I would have been able to ignore this request. He did give me advice for this session. Don't admit fault. Don't concede I failed anywhere. Don't agree to anything, not even a second session. Just attend this session, and if I wanted to still divorce, answer questions as neutrally as possible.
We win.
Don't yell,
Nice.
don't shout, don't accuse. The visit, if it could be called that, was via Zoom. Me in my home, and my wife in her mother's home, and the counselor in what appeared to be an office. It was interesting. The counselor was interested in spreading blame. Surely you could see how distance could create need. I simply said I don't agree. It takes two people to create a rift in a marriage, yeah, her and her boss. Holding on to this is staying in the past. There could be a wonderful future. Past behavior is a good indicator of future behavior. Stuff like that. I wouldn't pretend for a second that I played mind games or ran circles around her, because I didn't. I just didn't engage more than I had to. It was 2 hours of her and my wife just trying to make me take even 10% of the blame so she can say, see, it was both of your faults, now let's rebuild, or something like that. Near the end of the session, the counselor asked me why I was acting so cold. I said something along the lines of, did you know infidelity can create the same mental damage as PTSD? The counselor said I heard something like that before, yes. The session's time was running out and I was about to sign out when my wife asked if I was good with attending another session next weekend. I said I didn't think that was a good idea. She then begged what it would take for me to agree for a session next week. I said goodnight and signed off. Now I'm just waiting to see what the next reasonable request is that I can't turn down, just so my lawyer can paint the picture that I'm a well-adjusted guy that had one outburst of bad behavior versus a trend of bad behavior.